Hey, it's Rane. Thank you for joining me. In this video, I am going to be showing you how I am dealing with a spider mite outbreak that I've had in pretty much my entire house, which I discovered about a month ago. The good news is that the treatments that I've been doing seem to be working. And I say seem because these spider mites that I have are microscopic. They are so tiny, I cannot even see them. I was only able to discover them once they had established their webbings. And even the webbing was so fine that I wasn't able to see it with my naked eye. I had to magnify them with my iPhone camera. And some of you guys have pointed them out to me because you happen to have very large TVs and you can see the webbing on your screen. Otherwise, they are pretty much impossible for me to detect, except with my string of turtles, which I will show you a video of right now. This thing was completely covered in the webbing. And I can't believe that I didn't see this happening over time. It was just like all of a sudden the webbing was there. And I don't have to water this plant all that often because I was keeping it inside of my cabinet. So I don't know how long it took for the webbing to show up before I was able to notice it. But at this point, I am just assuming that every single one of my plants has spider mites and I just can't see them. So I have a routine that I have put into place to both get rid of the spider mites and to prevent new infestations. So none of my plants have died. I have had some damage on a few of them, but they just lost a few leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and start showing you the things that I've been doing to keep the spider mites away and my plants safe. And a lot of these methods have been shared to me by my community members, which you are welcome to join. It is called Cozy Plants on SKOOL. For the time being, it is free and it is private. So let's get to it. So the first thing that I do, which I think is probably the most important thing that you can do, is to remove the spider mites mechanically. And so I've been doing that by giving my plants showers in my shower. So I'll show you a close-up of how I do that. And what I do is I try to go underneath the leaves. And when I was explaining this to one of my friends, they asked me, how do you not get soil all over your shower? Which is a great question because I had that exact same question in my mind before I knew how to shower plants. And the reason why I never showered my plants before this was because I thought I was going to get soil all over my shower floor. But that doesn't happen. So one way to prevent that is just to have like the watering tray or like the dish underneath so that if your pot has holes in it, you've got the dish to like trap the soil. But I don't drench the soil. So what I do wait until the plant needs to be watered before I give it the shower. But what I do is I spray from underneath because the spider mites like to live under the leaves and they like to live like in the little notches. Like with philodendrons, I'll show you a video of my Philodendron White Princess, which was the very first plant that I found with the webbing on it. So it likes to live in that little V shape at the top of the leaf where it meets the petiole. And this is what spider mite damage actually looks like. It's little brown spots until the leaf turns completely yellow and limp and then falls away. So I will turn the plant and spray underneath all of the leaves. And then I'll also go from the side and try to get all sides of the entire plant. And then at the end of my spraying session, I will go down from the top to get the tops of the leaves. And I will try to avoid getting the soil area because I like to give my plants Super Thrive solution. So I don't want to water it with just plain water. Our water is also super hard. So I have to use Stress Coat. And so I'll try not to get too much of the shower water into my soil or substrate. So a couple of other ways that you could get rid of them mechanically is by using a feather duster. If you have like very large leafed plants, you could take your feather duster and just like dust underneath the leaves. I suppose you could also use like a brush, like a paintbrush or something like that, and just like wipe off the leaves. You could also use a microfiber glove. So they sell these just for plant people so that we can clean the leaves of our plants. And I'll go ahead and give you a demonstration of that right now, as I do have a plant that is stuck in its place and I cannot give it a shower. It's one of my hybrid Hoyas, and I have it growing up a stick that is stuck to the wall. So I'll go ahead and show you how I use these gloves on the leaves. So this is my Hoya hybrid here, and it is stuck. The stick here is attached to the wall. It's like 8 feet long. And this is my Monstera standeliana. The pot is just really big and heavy, and I don't want to have to carry it upstairs to give it a shower. So I'll just use my gloves to clean underneath the leaves and just wipe off any spider mites that might be under there, or like webbing that I can't see. And I'll have to do that for every single leaf. And the same with my Hoya here. So I've lost 1 leaf on this plant, 3 leaves off of this one. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just wiping under every single of the leaves and hopefully getting the spider mites off. I'm also going to use my spray. So it's a time-consuming process, but these are the only 2 plants that I'm going to be doing this with, the gloves. All my other plants I'll just take upstairs and give them a shower. I feel like that's much faster. So I've been told that if you have an active spider mite infestation, you want to be doing this mechanical removal of the spider mites like on a weekly basis. I honestly have not been doing that with every single one of my plants. I have over 100 plants. So I've only been doing this for the plants that I could see had an active infestation on them, but also just like the nearby plants. So I did have spider mites in my cabinet because of the string of turtles, and have a lot of alocasias in there, and even at least 1 begonia. And those plants are pretty prone to getting spider mites, but luckily I have not seen any webbing on them so far. But I also, on the day that I found the spider mites on the string of turtles, I showered every single plant that's in my cabinet. And so with those plants, I do shower them whenever they need to be watered. But if you see all the plants behind me on these shelves here, and I have plants all around my house, I have not given them all showers. Not all plants are prone to getting spider mites. They're pretty good at fighting them off. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to shower all of my plants. I will get to it when I can, but I think from now on, as a preventative measure, I will start to shower my plants maybe on a monthly basis, but it wouldn't be like a strict schedule for me. It would just be whenever the plant needs to be watered, and if I happen to have time to give it a shower at that moment. But I am definitely keeping on top of the plants that are inside of my cabinet. And then there are certain plants that are just prone to getting spider mites, like the alocasias and the begonias. And so those I will shower pretty often. And now I know that string of turtles and string of pearls are pretty prone to getting spider mites. So I did discover spider mites on my string of pearls just yesterday, and those are also inside of my cabinet. So I just gave it a quick shower. I blasted those things away. I'm sure that they're still in there. Those little bugs are so tiny. And so that leads me to my next step in the process, which is to use an insecticidal spray. So I'm actually out of my spray and I need to mix up a new batch right now. So I will go ahead and show you how I do that. The recipe was given to me by one of my community members. Thank you so much. She knows who she is. And if you want to get this recipe, you can find it in my community. So here are the ingredients that I'm going to be using in my preventative spray. All right, so I'm going to zero out my scale and make sure it's on the grams setting because this recipe uses grams. And this is a 10-ounce bottle. So I'm going to start with the items that need 9 grams, which are the soaps. So I've got tea tree and peppermint. And if you want to replace tea tree with neem oil, you could. But I have a neem oil spray that I'm going to spray on after I use this spray. So I'm going the extra mile. And I'll show you that spray after this. But let me go ahead and measure out the soap first. So hydrogen peroxide is the smallest amount. I'm going to do that after I do the soaps because I feel like the scale's not very good at measuring out like really tiny amounts. And I only need 0.8 grams of this. And just as a side note, I do have a link for all of this stuff down below. If you use my Amazon affiliate links, it really helps out with the future of this channel and you don't pay anything extra. Thank you so much if you use them. I always appreciate all the support that you give. All right, so let's see if I can get this in here without overpouring like I always do. I'm probably going to speed up this video for you guys so you're not like sitting through this entire process of me trying to get the right amounts. See, I overshot. Okay, there, 9 grams, actually 10. It's oscillating between 9 and 10. All right, peppermint. Okay, now we're at 18 grams. Now I'll put in the hydrogen peroxide, and I only need 0.8, but this doesn't go down that low. So I'll just wait until it goes up to 19. So 0.8 grams is about a quarter teaspoon. And now I need some rubbing alcohol. And I almost forgot to mention, I'm using 91% alcohol, but it doesn't need to be that strong. Actually, the recipe calls for 70%. This is just what I happen to have. So I'm going to use less of it in my mix here today. And I need 37 grams of this. I'm going to go ahead and zero out my scale again. Measure out 37 grams. Actually, this is 91%, so I'm going to stop at 30 grams. That's probably too much, but that's all right. So now I just need to top it off with water. All right, so this might seem weird, but I'm going to use my Super Thrive solution that I already have mixed up instead of just plain tap water, because this already has stress coat in it. So the hard water is taken care of. And also, I read online that you can use Super Thrive as like a foliar spray for stressed out plants, and you can spray it on the leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to top it off. And voila, it is ready. Okay, we are now ready to go spray those spider mites away. There we go. It smells good. Pepperminty. Don't forget to shake it. The first plant I want to spray right now is my string of pearls, because that's the one that I found with webbing on it yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out and spray it all down. I can't believe it's 89% in here right now. It just went down to 88 because I opened the door. There is my string of pearls. Do you guys see any webbing on there? I hope not, because I've already given it a shower. I do see some white stuff here. I wonder if that's the webbing. It got clumped up from the shower. Ooh, black spots, or is that soil? Okay, watch me spray it down. All right, that thing is drenched. Stay happy. So I'm going to interject here. It's actually a few hours later, and I'm going to now spray my neem max onto my string of pearls, which I let dry. So I like to let it dry first before I put the neem max on here. And I'm just doing this to be doubly sure. So this is a 4-in-1. It's a fungicide, insecticide, miticide, and nematicide. So all my bases are covered. So there are a lot of people who hate the smell of neem and they do not use neem oil on their plants. I don't mind the smell. So here we go. So the next step in my routine is to use a systemic pest control concentrate. And so I will drench the soil, and I'm using two different kinds. So the first kind that I have been using from the start for gnats originally is this All Seasons. And this uses mineral oil, but it does also fight off spider mites and the eggs. And it's actually good for a lot of pests. So mealybugs, aphids, and I don't know if it helps with thrips, but I haven't had a thrips problem yet. That's difficult to say. Luckily, hopefully I won't. But the other one is called SNS 209, and that one was recommended by my community member also. That one is similar to this, but they use rosemary oil instead of mineral oil. So it's more natural. So the SNS 209 is organic. I think this is kind of natural, but it's got the mineral oil in it. But I was told by one of my viewers that spider mites can develop a resistance to whatever it is you're trying to use against them. So I will probably continue to use this alongside with the SNS 209. And I do believe you can use either one in every watering, but I don't really like to use this one every watering because I just have a feeling that maybe my plants don't love it in the long term. So I use this every once in a while. So I will probably use the SNS 209 every watering, and then every once in a while switch it up with this one just in case. And what I do is I pre-mix my batches because these are concentrates. So I just take old milk jugs and you can use 2 to 5 tablespoons, which they give you a measuring cup to measure that out for the all seasons. And now I in the beginning I was using about 5 tablespoons because I really wanted to get rid of my gnats, and it worked. But now I just use 2 tablespoons and I'll put it in the gallon, mix it with water all the way to the top, and I also use my stress coat in there. So I just always have this on hand, and I'll use it every once in a while, not every watering now, because the gnats are under control now. I do have some left, especially in my cabinet, but I want them. I want to keep them because they feed my carnivorous plants. And I know that they're eating them because I saw my Venus flytrap, one of the mouths was closed. So yay, I got a little dessert. Things are about to get serious around here. So I'm about to use the SNS 209, and there is a precautionary statement on here. So it says that you should wear protective eye gear and chemical safe gloves. So not just any glove, but chemical safe, and to wear a long sleeve. So I've got my flannel because it's easy on and off. Like, I don't mess around with these precautionary cautions. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a batch and feed it to my Hoya hybrid that you saw earlier, because that is dried out right now and it's getting pretty thirsty. So this will be actually my first time using the SNS 209. Previously I was using the other systemic, so I'm happy to be using this now. It seems like it's pretty potent. And this also does take care of thrips, it says on here. So it takes care of aphids also, and I believe it said gnats, and of course spider mites. So you would want to take a look at it and read it carefully just to make sure that whatever pest you have, that it covers that for you. So I'm going to mark my jug here. I've got a gallon jug, and this says to use half a tablespoon of the concentrate per gallon of water. So that's what I'm going to do. And I just want to make sure I know what's in here. All right, so it's just nicely sealed. Let me just get this open, and it did not come with a measuring tool, so I'll have to go find something. And I'm definitely not going to use something that I use for food. All right, I found myself a measuring scoop, which I used to use for food, but I never use it anymore. So this is going to be dedicated just for this from now on, because it's the exact amount that I need for a gallon. And it's interesting, I was just reading on here that the rosemary oil is absorbed by the plant. And so when the insects try to eat the plant, they eat the rosemary oil, and that's how it works. So I think that's very interesting and different from how the other systemic works. I think the mineral oil with that one kind of just like smothers the insects when it goes into the soil. I think that's what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, secured, is sealed very tight. So let me just use my knife to cut it open. And now, time to pour. And I don't think that my gloves are chemical safe, but it's all I have right now. Oops, I over poured as usual. So I'll just let that drip onto my tray and try to get as much of it as I can into the bottle. It's brown and as a smell. I shouldn't try to inhale this, but I think it smells kind of good. All right, so now I'm going to get some water in here, and I'm also going to use my stress coat. So that's what it looks like, and I'm going to pour some into my watering can and feed it to my Hoya now. Here we go. So the bottle says it takes about 2 weeks for this solution to start working, because the plant needs to absorb it, which is fine because I've been using the other systemic, which works, I think, pretty much right away. And I do have a cache, and it says that you can fill the cache also. Since I'm here, I'll go ahead and feed my Monstera. So they recommend using this for at least 5 consecutive waterings. I'll probably do more, and I'm definitely going to be using this on all of my plants. So I'll be using that water jug and refilling the gallon every time I do the waterings. And then every once in a while, I will use the other systemic. And something I just thought of, I do have a lot of plants in pond, so I don't use the systemic in my pond substrate because I feel like pests don't really like to live in pond. So the SNS 209 and the other systemic, I use those just for my soil, my plants with soil. And so my pond plants all get the Super Thrive solution. And I am still wiping off and cleaning the leaves off of the plants that are in pond because the spider mites, of course, can still live on the leaves. And I also use the spray that I made. So that just goes on the leaves. I don't do anything with the substrate with those. Another method that supposedly works to get rid of spider mites is to put them in 100% humidity. So it has to be really, really high humidity. Otherwise, the spider mites will thrive because they do like some humidity. So I've read both that they do like dryness. So I live in a desert. So when it's hot and dry out here, I think I am more likely to get spider mite outbreaks during those times. But I've noticed within my cabinet, which is usually around 70%, between 50 and 70% humidity, the spider mice also thrive in there. So what I've done with my string of turtles is I took them out of the cabinet because I didn't want those spider mice to spread around. And I isolated it inside of a plastic food container. It is completely sealed, so there's hopefully near 100% humidity. There's definitely lots of moisture in there, which spider mice do not like. So I've read online that if you keep them in that high of humidity for several weeks, they will die off. So that's what I'm doing with my string of turtles right now. Let me go ahead and show you. There it is. So I just have it on my floor next to my balcony door, so it's getting lots of light. And I don't see the spider mite webs anymore. I mean, I showered them off first, and then I put them inside this container. So you can see that the string of turtles is still alive. Hopefully it's not going to suffer from rot, but it is still green. And even if I have to propagate it, I can probably still save it. So as you can see, there's definitely a lot of moisture in there, and I feel like it is going to help to kill off the spider mites. So I'm just going to leave it in there for several weeks, and I'll definitely keep an eye on the string of turtles just to make sure that it doesn't start to like brown from the middle part, because if that does start happening, I will have to propagate the plant and start it over, which is fine because that thing grows really fast, especially when it is in higher humidity. And I do have another string of turtles in my cabinet, and I did not see any spider mice on that, so that's good. I had also found some webbing on my rubber plant, and I propagated that one, and I put it inside of a huge Tupperware. I'll show you footage of me doing that. I don't think that that is going to work for the spider mice because I can see that there's no condensation inside of the Tupperware, and it's not 100% sealed. Like the way that the top is on there, there's definitely gaps. So I'm probably just incubating the spider mites in there right now. I haven't opened it up since I put it in there because I have lots of things set on top of the lid. So I need to clean it off, take the plant out, make sure it's still alive, and I'll probably just take it out of the container and just isolate it somewhere in my house. And I'll just have to keep giving it a shower and spraying it down. I suppose I'll take a look in there right now so I can let you guys know the update of that since I put it in there. Let's open this up and see what I've done. I'm kind of scared that it's going to be full of spider mites. So, oops, this plant fell out of the water. Looks like it's still alive though. Right off the bat, I don't see any spider mites. Okay, there has been a leaf drop. It is pretty humid in here, but I doubt it's 100%. And look, I do see roots. Yay, so the stem that did stay in the water has roots now. And looky here, it looks like there is a new growth point coming out right there. All right, that is wonderful news. I feel so happy about that. So actually, I had showered it. I sprayed it thoroughly with both the preventative spray, the DIY mix, and with the Neem Max. So I think that helped. It worked. And there does feel like there's significant humidity inside of the container, but definitely not 100%. So I don't think it's enough to stave off the spider mites, but I do think that is benefiting the plant. So I'm actually going to leave it in there. It is still getting light. I've got it right next to my balcony door. And I think that the humidity in there is going to help it grow more roots, more leaves, which is what I wanted. So I just have to keep an eye on that one leaf cutting or stem cutting that wants to keep falling out of the water. And I do need to add more water because I did give it a moat so that would have more humidity in there. And we'll see how it does in the future. I will keep you guys updated, probably in my plant chores videos. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested in seeing my updates. And looking in there, it does look like there is another leaf starting to yellow. And so I'm wondering if there are still spider mites on there. I'm gonna go ahead and give it another shower right now and spray it down again with the preventative spray and my Nemax. There's probably spider mites in my cabinet, which leads me to my very last step in my process, which is to clean the area. Because I do know that spider mites can live, I think, up to 10 days without a plant. So they'll be crawling around your house looking for the next plant. And I do have some really awesome cleaning products that are all natural. They are plant-based. They clean so well and so fast. I love them so much. I know there are spider mites lurking in here. So I'm going to take all this stuff out and clean up the shelves and the glass. Look at my awesome propagations. I need to pot these things up. This is coming out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. And just remember, under the leaves is the most important. That's where they like to hide out, as well as this little V right here. They love to make the webs there. So until next time, have a great day and enjoy your plants.